we'll be implementing a TCP client program, of which we'll assume that we have, actually, we're not assuming, we already have our server already set. So here we'll be given an M type, of which actually we will be sending data, of which this data will be having two different data members, of which is going to be an M type, which is just a 3-digit number, and also another number, of which is going to be my student ID. That will be a 10-digit number, but then we'll take it as a string. So first, before going to before working with our data, we first need to implement or structure our socket, and we first need, yes, we need to structure our socket and design it in a way that we'll be able to connect to the server that we have been given, because we have our port number and also our server address, which is the IP address of the server. So first, we have our structure that we'll need to send our data, of which it has an M type, which is the integer. It's going to be the integer number of 3 digits, and also our character string, of which is going to be the one which will be holding our message that we'll be sending to the server. And then next, we need to create the socket, of which, creating the socket, we need our family OIF INET, which is just a family member for our IP addresses, because as we know that we have IP version 4 and also IP version 6, so they are part of this family. So if it was IP version 6, we will just add a 6 here after the T here. But just because it's just IP version 4, and then this is it, as we see here. And then next is our socket stream, of which is the one that we use to send TCP data. Like, we use socket stream to send data using our TCP protocol, and then this is the protocol 0, of which we don't need to put anything, it's just the 0 here, it's okay. And then we'll be returning a -1 if ever we are not able to create the socket. And next, we have our hint structure, of which it encompasses of our port number, of which we also given. This port number is the one that we'll be using to connect to our server. So that's the quadrant 9 and also the IP address. And so here we are just creating our structure for connecting to the server, of which has our socket address hint and also our family hint here. So here we also need to convert our port number, of which because we'll be sending this data through the network. It's unlike when we are just using our default or our loopback address, the 127.0.0.1. So we are not using that address here, but we'll be sending over the network. So we need to convert our port number using this function host to network short, and then we'll be able to send through the network our data. And also this pointer to network address, we'll be using also this function to convert our IP address to the format that we want to send through the network. And then next, you will be connecting to the server using this socket. So here we are creating our socket as we already get at the data. We already have a socket, so we use this connect function. So inside the connect function, our parameters, we have the socket and then our address, and then the size of the actual address. Actually, this is this some kind of binding. It's more like we are binding, like you are on the server part. It's not actual binding, but we are just we'll be sending the socket, of which it will now be combined with the address and also our port number. So next, we'll be returning -1, or if we get a -1, that will mean that we couldn't connect to the server. Probably maybe it was off, or anything could have happened or went wrong. And then here we have our data members here, of which these data members will be using them to capture the data from the user. And these are the structure objects, because we need to use the structure to take the data from the user and then send it via the network, of which now we'll be using the object of the structure to send the data over the network. So here we are just accepting the user input, of which it is the M type, of which is going to be, say, we'll see later on when we are testing, of which is going to be, say, maybe 101, of which is 3 digits. And then after that, here we'll be entering our student ID, of which then we'll need to copy it to this to our data member, of which is from the struct. It is the struct, of which we'll be copying the data to the struct. And after that, we can now send the data over the network using our struct object, which now will be containing our M type and also containing our message. It's going to be the student. It's going to be my student ID, and then we'll be able to send over the network. Which here, to send to over the network, we need to use the send function and also our socket that we have already created earlier on, and then our object from our struct, and also the size of our object, and also our protocol, of which it is the TCP protocol. Of which in this case we are just using 0, and then after that these variables will be using them to receive the signals that will be telling us whether we actually will be giving us some feedback whether we have received something or not. So in this case, we'll be using the receive function, of which we'll be using to capture the data from the server, and then again we'll be using this the very same struct that we have used to send the data. Again, we're using the struct to receive the data. So here you see, it's unlike when we are sending, but now we are receiving the data individually, of which is not individually, but it's still part of the struct. So we are just separating it using our struct variables, of which is the message.mtype and then message.context, of which the message.context will be returning as probably a key from the server. And then if the server will find our student ID, then it should be able to return this M type, of which is going to be 201. And so if it's 201, then it should be able to execute the statement, of which will be able to continue to the next step. So in this case, once we get our new data from the server, then we'll be able to now take another data, of which now the M type is going to be the M type now will be 300, of which will be given also the 300. And then after that, we type in the 300 and also type in the last 8 digits of the student ID. And then after that, we use this function to change our message context, of which is going to be from the server, of which is going to be the key. We change it to an integer, and also we change our context, of which is from the keyboard. We also change it to the integer, so that we can be able to XOR them using our function of using these statements here. And then once you get the XOR result, you'll be able to again take the XOR result and also print it onto our character again. Our character variable that we have already declared here. And then once we are done with that, we'll be able to, because now it should be in a form of a string, or yes, a string, and then we'll be able to copy it again back to our struct, of which the message to that context struct, of which we have declared up there. So after that, we'll be able to send it again through the network. But mind you, here again, we need to convert it or cast our message now. using this character, so that we'll be able again to receive it, so that the server will be able to see wow to will be able to decode the data. And then that's again, we have already said this what's happening here. And then once we send the data, again we'll be receiving the data. Once we are done with that, if we are successful again sending the data, we'll be receiving this message, and then we'll be typing the new M type, which is the 203 M type. Then if we fail again, we'll be receiving this message here, of which the M type probably will be will be 4 or something, or 403, and then that would mean that we're failed. So now we are done with our code. So you can just look through the code and see how we did all this amazing stuff. So so now we'll be testing our code. Let's test and see if indeed we did it right, if indeed it's working. So let's run our code. And then this is our M type. And then this is our my student ID for 0921343. And then we are receiving here a response, which means that it's true. This true and response means that it's true. If we thought, if maybe the student card wasn't there, we would have received maybe 401 and -1. But here we also received the key, which means indeed we are successful. And then another M type that you use for sending the new data would be 300, and then we can send the last 8 digits, which is 1092143, and then we send again, and voila, yeah, we get this 223, of which means indeed we are successful with our program. So that's how we can implement our TCP client program. Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, so I think we are done. Yes, we are done. Yeah, so that's how we are supposed to do it. Yeah, thank you very much. So you can like my video, and also subscribe to my channel so that you can see more videos next time. Yeah, thank you. Bye.